let's get started here. I don't have a super long stream today, so I need to take advantage of that time. Okay. Well, let me real quick walk through where we're at. So last time we were here, we were working on getting the movement menu, the confirm menu, up and going. Let's see if I can turn on my controller. Okay. So this time, see where we're at. I did resolve a few bugs. We were able to get the confirm selection working pretty decently, so that's great. Confirm there, and then we can kind of go into our next move, which isn't anything yet, right? And then if I cancel, teleports me back. So I can move again. So ultimately this is pretty good. I've also locked in the menu selection, so I can't like go outside of it, which is great. Same here. I can't go outside this menu, which is fantastic. So yeah, not too bad. I do need to check and throw away any movement tiles that people are on. So that'll be good to do. So let's do that next real quick. Basically, I can pass through people. That's okay for now. But I don't want to step on anybody. And so that'll be interesting. Actually, the algorithm will probably... Interesting, actually. There's two ways I need to do this. I probably need to... Let's look at this real quick. Like the first thing to do is to look at my character world algorithm for identifying movement cells. Here. So let's check here. I think this is in candidate cells where I could say this cell distance and this, and I need to essentially loop through. Let's see. I have all of the people, right? Let me see up here if I have all of the active players. I do. So I could loop through 4 players in the player list. Interesting, which I don't have here. Is it called players list? Okay. All right, so for players and players list, let's see. All right, I think I need the same thing essentially. And then I need that. And then down here, basically if... Oh, I missed my for loop, which is the whole thing I wanted. So from here. Yeah. This is going to be pretty good. Ultimately, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to loop through all of the players that I have. So I loop through all my players in my players list, if that player exists, and then if essentially the grid I'm on, let's see, if his location equals, not next grid, and I actually don't want this either. Okay, so essentially if my player's location inside that list is equal to my grid cell dot position. Oh wait, yeah, just grid cell. Grid cell's a vector. Okay. So let's see. One moment. I'm so sorry about this. Hey, Tiki Torch, how's it going? So sorry. One moment. How are you doing tonight? We are working on a tactical RPG, and we're coming along. Hey, Ace. Good to see you too, Ace. Hope things are going well. So yeah, so ultimately here, I want, if I am running through this, if I see one of the players, well, I'm glad you found me. Yeah, glad you're here. Tonight we're gonna be working on trying to finish up our movement. The last thing I think for the movement is to, when I have a character in a spot, I can't move on top of them, right? Because that would not be good. So right now I can move on top of them. Well, that's a bug too. And I don't want to be able to do that because now I've got two people on top of each other. So that's kind of the last thing. You're a bit intimidated by the engine, Ace. I get it. There's definitely a intimidation factor when you first start, but I think it's just unfamiliar, right? So after you kind of get into it, it definitely, as it becomes more familiar, becomes much more approachable. Good. I'm glad you're gonna experiment. Did you check out the tutorial? So streaming on both YouTube and Twitch here, Tiki. Ace was here the other night. We were kind of working through, got some good ideas for some games. So it's an exciting time. Lots of people making games. I think that's a pretty recent thing. I like a lot of people are kind of working on it. I hear you. Yeah, I got you, Tiki. I hear you, Ace. What are you studying? Is it your art degree? All right, so for player node in players list, there's already a player node declared in the scope. Okay, so yeah, I can do something else. I can just say for player in players list. What I should do actually, what I'm kind of thinking is when I define this above, let's see, yeah, I think I can do this a lot cleaner. When I create my players list initially, I think I needed one called player positions. Trying to learn to make your own stuff. Art degree, that's cool. What are you trying to make, Tiki? That's good, Ace. Art would be a really interesting thing because it's so subjective, right? So my degree was in science things, and I'm sure there's a lot of science and there's a lot of not subjective things in art. So coding, web design, yeah, and that's I think that's good. That's a lot of stuff that, making a game would be really relevant to. So if only you could listen. College classes are hard. It's hard to sit in there. A top-down or a platformer. Yeah, that's good. That's a good place to build. Would this be so I'm guessing if you're learning how to make your own stuff, it's kind of your first game. I think that's a good place to start. So I've had some programming experience in the past, so this is kind of my first trial, but I think it was a big leap to jump into, right? But platformer could have a lot of challenges too. I think the one thing I get advantage of not have to deal with that much physics in here. And that's going to be something that's going to be fun I'm sure to work through. So that's exciting. That's cool. So are you thinking more 2D, 3D? Let's see. So I'm creating an array here. Here's what I'm doing. I'm creating an array of player position. Do I already have that? Oh, I should have is like players list or players position list. So I'm creating an array here essentially so that I can, while I'm looping through all these characters, I'm getting their position because I loop through this every single time. So then what I can do is I can say for player node and players list, I can say players position list dot append, and I'm going to append player node dot position. Yeah, see you in a second, Ace. I'll say players position list equals, I'll clear it first. Oops. And then I will go back through and I'll append this to the end of it and essentially get all those positions. Then what I can do is down here where I'm getting candidate cells, I can just say and not grid cell in players position list. So what this allows me to do here is it allows me to do this a lot simpler. So now when I run this, my candidate cells should never include, oh, you know what? Well, that should still be okay. Let's see. What did I not like? I did not like the index position on string. Oh, okay. So I'm not actually getting the node. So I need to get the node for the player node. That dot position. Hey, thanks for the follow, Tiki Torch. Appreciate that. So let's see. So from here, now when I go to my movement, I'm still seeing them. Okay, so let me look at what went wrong here. Let's see. Okay, now I broke it, which is great. Okay, so let's see. For players node in players list, players position list dot append. I do need an if statement. This needs to be inside the if it has a players node. That's one thing. So essentially, it's going to keep it from returning these sort of positional errors because it will return those errors if they don't exist. Okay, so then I want to get the node for each player here. And then I'm going to take the position of that node. That looks pretty good. So what I should end up with, and I'll print it, right? I'm going to print it here. I'll just use this print. Essentially just doing some debugging here. And I'm going to say position list. And that should give me all of my players' positions. From there, I can go check to see exactly where my second function is going wrong. So just breaking everything up into smaller problems. So we can see here, I'm only getting a position list of 1. Okay, until I move. Interesting. So you can see this is kind of an interesting bug. And so this is all 5 characters when I'm over here. And then as I move closer to 0, 0, for some reason I go down to 1 character. So then I have to figure out why that is. Because my players list isn't changing. So it should be wrapping through all of my characters every single time. And I can kind of confirm that by, if I print here, I can print my players list. And I can say players list. So let's see. Let's see. So I am just appending it. I was thinking maybe I was setting it equal to or something. Or it's not. Let's see. So my players list, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see. When I do this, it goes down to, my players list is still full, but my position list goes down to 1 thing, which tells me I might be overwriting it somewhere. So let's see where I'm writing this real quick. Players list. It should just be, or actually, I'm sorry, position list. Players position list. Okay, so I'm clearing it, and then I'm essentially looping through, and I know for a fact that it's getting the full list. So let's see. So it's interesting. Yeah, this is GDScript. I like GDScript. I don't know what engine you're using, but GDScript's been good. I can also run in C#. I do have the .NET version, but I haven't found a need for it at all. I mean, GDScript's been extremely powerful. It's been able to do everything I want it to do. So it really hasn't been too bad. Now, this is interesting. Let me do another print here. What I'm going to print essentially is player. I think, no, that's right. So I'm essentially going to print the player node here. Are you using Godot, or what are you using for your games you're working on? So I'm essentially going to print the player node, which should be a string, and should give all the same things as this. I'm going to go ahead and hide this. Learning the Godot game engine. I think it's a good one. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of it's transferable depending on which one you go to, but I've really enjoyed it. So I think that's been fantastic to use. Let's see. So very interesting here. If I'm highlighting, if I'm on 0, 0, it's returning only one of my characters in that statement. So I got to figure that out. That's a really interesting one. No, yeah, I hear you, Tiki. So it's good. Yeah, what's your question, Ace? Go for it. So I'm guessing it has something to do, actually I can move this print here, has something to do with the node not existing for some reason. Maybe the node's not, it's not that the node's not existing, it doesn't think it exists when I'm on 0, 0, which is a very interesting problem. So let's see. No, so it has nothing to do with that. It's actually the players list. Let's see if I'm setting my players list to something. So I could be. So, because I'm looping through players list. So I'm setting it there. Setting it there. No, it should set it exactly once. And very, very interesting. What I might be able to do is right after I set the players list. Very, very interesting. Yeah, that's good. I thought about using Unity and then didn't for the same reason. I think Godot is in a really good position to become kind of the de facto game engine. And I think it's got the power. There's updates being constantly made to it. It's open source. So you have that going for it. People can, there's a lot of add-ons, a lot of plugins. So I think Godot is a really good choice for that. And this is a fun hobby. Game dev, honestly, I think I'm on like day 17. I didn't update my day today. Let me update that just so I can track that and not lose it. Yeah. So ultimately though, I think it's a pretty good hobby. It's got programming, it's got art, it's got music. It's a lot of fun, and there's a pretty good community kind of growing, I think, right now on game dev. So yeah, same here. Only a hobby for me too. But yeah, it is a lot of fun. It's a good thing to kind of exercise your mind, but plus it's relaxing for the most part. Things like this can be really frustrating because we have a really interesting, very non-obvious thing here, right? Very non-obvious bug. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to take this print position list or player list here that's commented out. I'm going to put it here so I can see, hey, every time, what do you think the player list is? Why is code written with space and lines like code? To not code. Okay. Spaces between lines sometimes. Format didn't come through. That's okay. I think I know what you're saying. So you're saying like this, right? And then sometimes there's no lines and sometimes there is. I will say in GDScript, it doesn't matter. I think most programming languages, it doesn't matter. Like Python, don't think it matters. So sometimes different programmers code in different ways, right? And you can tell me if I'm on the right track with the question. I think that's what your question was, though. I think sometimes programmers will do like this, right? Because it looks prettier. It's easy to follow when like indents are and things. And that's very valid. I like being able to scroll through code fast. So I try not to do too many breaks. Also, please don't take my programming as good programming. It is not. If it was good programming, it would be commented. So every time I have kind of a major loop like this, I should likely have a comment that says, hey, cycle through player node or the players list. And the point of this is to see if your current player that's highlighted is within it to highlight the selection cell, right? So I should be commenting along the way, and that's useful. But when you're solo dev, you do the line of code and then enter to go down, then tab. Oh, okay. So, and then some space between the line number. Okay. So the tabs are important. Yeah, no problem. The tabs are really important. So, for example, if I if I tab this, right, it's probably going to return an error because this if statement doesn't know what to grab, right? So the tabs indicate whenever you have like a case structure, like an if statement or a for loop, or anything like that, right? It's going to look at the next line down and the number of tabs. Now I can put a space between there, and that's fine. No problem there. But as soon as I put that extra tab, it's going to break because it doesn't know what line to grab. So the spaces between don't matter as much, but the tabs do. And then you can't, like in Godot, it will throw an error if I like put a space here, I think. Yeah, it's going to throw an error because the spaces, the compiler needs everything to be very specific, right? Because the way the compiler works is it cycles through every line of code and it says, hey, how do I take this instruction and do something with it? And the compiler is just a set of instructions in itself. So it's got to be formatted very carefully so that it can interpret what you're trying to do and apply it. There are some compilers that are a little bit more easygoing, maybe, like some code languages, but most of them are pretty structured. Python, I don't think is structured. I think you could put all your Python in one line, and I don't think it would matter if I'm remembering right. But others are very rigorous about what your spaces and tabs and new lines are. Some are more rigorous than this. I mean, like some new lines mean something. I think in most cases they don't, but yeah, no problem. So a lot of it is just user preference in terms of like spacing, but like the tabs and things, really important. In Python, not as important. You could have, if I'm remembering the right language here, you could have like this. Now, what you would do is just get whatever your compiler is, get a good like workstation with a good like editing, right? So this will throw an error if I do this, or I guess it'll throw an error if I do this. If you're coding like in Notepad, you're not going to have that, but that's where like Notepad++ really comes into play, because you can tell it what language you're coding in, and it'll tell you whenever you're running out. And no, I'm not at all. I'm keeping track of what I'm doing here. I'm going to go ahead and run this, and I'm going to look and see if player list is changing. I feel like I must be setting player list to something. Okay, so player list here is not changing, but it's only returning one of the player nodes, which means it's cutting out. Do I have a break on here? I do. Okay. So this is my problem. So this is breaking me out of the for loop. Should have caught that pretty quickly, but as I told you, I am not a software engineer. Okay, so this break right here, what it's doing is in the for loop, it's kind of looping through, and when it sees this break, it jumps out of the for loop and goes to the next line. So as soon as I highlight one of those players in the player nodes, it's going to break out. So I think I can just get rid of it. I'm going to comment it out so that if I need to put it back, I can, and I can find a different solution. So the only problem there now is you can see it's not highlighting the people. It's only returning the first one. But what I do think I get is, no, it doesn't even do this. So that did not solve the problem. Let me go back to this though, and let me go ahead and print that. And then I'm going to print the position list. I don't think I need the players list. I'm pretty confident the players list isn't changing at this point. I get it. Yeah, if you've never done it before, it probably can be really intimidating. And yeah, the extra, the good news is, right? Like if I have an extra thing here, see how it's red? Don't do the red thing. So it's really going to help you out. It's going to tell you, hey, I've got an error, and you have to work through those errors most of the time. There are cases when you may not notice, or you might put a parenthesis in the wrong place, especially if you're doing like really complicated like if statements. The way to do that is just split them out. Like I don't have to have a super long if statement here that checks. Let me find one. Like this. There's like this and this and this. You certainly don't have to do that. You could absolutely do just one of those if statements, right? And then go to the next line and then do the next if statement. So no problem. Look red. Yeah, the ands. Yeah, so ands and ins and things, they're red. But I hear you. I gotcha. All right, Tiki. Well, good talking to you. Take it easy and have a good night. Okay, so back up here. So I'm going to check here. I got rid of the brake. Ultimately, that doesn't work because when I get rid of the brake, I think because I'm cycling through my player nodes, it's getting upset at me. So, but let's check. Let's check here and see what's going on. Okay, so it's not going to highlight my folks. That's okay. I am getting the full position list now, which is good. I do need the full position list. And I can't select these people, probably because that brake's not there. And I still have that going on. So let me add the brake back. Let me confirm that I didn't break anything else. I could have while I was kind of playing with some stuff. Let me make sure it's not the case. Yeah, so it's all fixed again. All right, but the problem is I am braking. So ultimately, I don't think I want to brake. Maybe, let me think here. So I think it's this else is the problem, is I'm clearing my current player. And I need to keep my current player as this. So what I may be able to do is set current player prior to be blank. And then ultimately, let's see. I don't think I want to do that. Maybe I just have to, within a different for loop, set this variable. Let's do that. Let's keep it simple. So I'll do that right here, actually up here in ready. YouTubers for basic coding. I don't have any. Ultimately, yeah, I didn't go through. I didn't learn coding much from YouTube. I learned it mostly from college. So I don't have any good recommendations. I might look into that though to see if there are good recommended coders. I bet it though, if you do search something, I bet you'll find a lot. The syntax is important, so it probably is worthwhile to like look up some coding tutorials or coding videos in Godot or GDScript. That way you're learning on the same thing you will be using, right? But ultimately, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of really good ones out there. Okay, so now I'm building the position list up here, and that should work better. Let's find out. Let's see what we got. Okay, so I can't highlight people. I'm still not getting the full player list until I come over here. Let's see if I do come over here. No, so interesting. Oh, that's okay. I won't get the full player list, but my position list is clearing. So you can see down here, my position list is empty. And that is because I'm clearing it right here. So I don't want to clear it there. It's another one of those things where it's kind of all over the place. Let's try this again. Ah, man, yeah. Some of the coding classes can be really boring. When I took my like coding, I don't want to call it like coding 101, but like computer science 101 is what it was. Yeah, the projects they have you do is so boring. And that's where, if you're making a game, it's going to be a whole lot more fun. You'll have a whole lot more progress, and you'll probably just do a whole lot better. It's absolutely, if you've got a good project, you've got good things you're working, it's just, you're going to learn a lot faster. So I can't remember if you were doing what your coding class was, if it's like HTML, if you're doing like HTML and web design, you'll probably learn a little bit. I mean, depending on how detailed you get, but I could definitely see that being harder to learn in that kind of environment, just because your options, right? HTML is such it's not really a functional language, right? You're just building structures and that kind of thing with it. It's got a lot less logic, unless you kind of get into CSS and other stuff, but yeah, that's a hard one. And then I imagine the professor's job is really hard too, right? Because they've got to go take this, what you're seeing on screen, and make it interesting, which is really challenging, because they're going to be trying to teach you like the logic behind it. And like if you wanted to go build an algorithm, hopefully at the end of computer science class, you learn how to build an algorithm that can do what it's doing, but that's not a fun thing. Yeah, exactly. Step 1's kill the slime. Step 2 is kill God. And coding's a lot like a video game, right? And you wouldn't go tackle the boss at level 1, so you gotta go level up and work up to that point. But yeah, I get it. And depending on what is your game going to be a project for your class, or is that just a project you're doing on the side? I think that would be pretty challenging. I think if you had to do a game for class, then you have that added pressure, which is less fun, but it still could be a cool project. Hobby and money, cool. That's good. Yeah, I think this is a hobby is a really fun thing. All right, so this is interesting. So I think what I'm checking here, I'm checking my grid cell in player position list. I am getting my player position list now. One thing to note, you see like these 1.1s. What I need to do there is when I build my player position list, it's coming out. The height of my character is 1.1. I'm guessing that I'm off by a whole cell, really. So what I can do here is up here where I build it, I can use the floor function. So I can take the floor of it, and what that's going to do is going to round everything down. Let's check that. That's going to at least return something closer. I think I'm also going to have to minus or subtract 1 from the Y coordinate here. Okay, so yes, that looks better. And then I need to subtract 1 from the Y coordinate, so it's looking at the floor instead of looking 1 above the floor right now. So I can do that pretty easily by saying this, and then minus, and everything here is in vector 3s, and I can just say 0, 1, 0. And what I'm doing there is subtracting 1 from the X, or sorry, 0 from the X, 1 from the Y, 0 from the Z. Sounds good. Hey, happy to be that tutor. But yeah, yeah. So hopefully I see you again soon. It's always good talking to you. Enjoy seeing you around the stream, and hope to see you around again soon. And good luck. If you have programming questions or anything, feel free to throw them at me. I really don't mind even a little bit. Interesting here. One thing is that I don't think I just realized my candidate cells are kind of the long points is really all I'm really using candidate cells for. And then in my algorithm here, which is, I have no idea how to pronounce this, but this algorithm here, which is basically an A-star algorithm, it goes and grabs all the paths to those points. So I'm thinking it may, I do check here to see if it's in the grid, right? So it's only going to grab neighbors if it's in the grid, which that grid is based on my candidate. What I might do here, and this is more debugging, is I might go hide everything from that algorithm where I'm only seeing my raw candidate cells. Hey, Journey. How are you doing? Hopefully things are going well for you. So let's see real quick on my... It's going to be here. It's going to be in the identify movement cells. And I have this. So instead, what I might do here is... Yeah, I'm not actually... It's funny. No, I am using my candidate cells. But I'll do this. And I will do this. So basically, I'm going to set my movement cells as my candidate cells. And that should let me see what all it picks. And hopefully it should take out where my people are standing. And it's not. So I have a little bit of work to do there. Doing good, Journey. We're just working on some of these algorithms here. Trying to get this not to capture where people are already standing, so that I don't have to, so I can't stand on top of them, if that makes sense. And yeah, this is interesting because, so I need to probably print what the grid cells look like. There's a possibility that they're kind of doing something weird here. And I'm just not capturing that. So let's look here. I do want to see, let's see, this is in the world, right? whirl here. I'm looking for grid cell. All these, and that's here. Yeah, right here. So this is when it builds the candidate cells. I tried saying, hey, if the grid cell is in the player position list, which is this here, don't push it back, right? Or I guess I have it. If it's not, if the grid cell is not in the player position list, yeah, push it back. So it should, in theory, not be doing this. But what I need to do probably is print that statement, or just print my candidate or my grid cell. Print grid cell. And that'll at least let me see and compare. Because I think there's a possibility here that I am missing points, or I'm off by half or something. I'm not using the vector 3i's, which are all integer based. I'm using mostly vector 3's, which are float based, so I could be off by something. Okay, let's try it again. And let me stop execution. Oh, maybe. Oops. Okay, let's try it again. I don't see that popping up. It should be. Let me scroll here. This might be coming too fast. Oh, there we go. Okay, so grid cells. What is the format of these grid cells? And that'll give me a good thing to compare to. So I've got like 2, 0. Yeah. Okay. So where are my ones at? Let's see. If I scroll up here, ultimately I'm going to be looking for like a 0, 0, 0 maybe even. Okay, here's my position list. 1, 0, 1. I think these all might be off by 1. No, I think I would see the gaps. Interesting. Okay, so 1, 0, 1's 1. Let's see if we can find that. 1, 0, 1 is right here. So that grid cell is here. When it gets to that, it should pop up and it should say, hey, I'm throwing this away. So what I can do is just look at that and I can print excluding grid cell. And then I want to get rid of, I think I know what my position list is. I'm going to take a quick screenshot or copy it because this isn't changing. This is stable now. Got that resolved. So let's go ahead and throw that in a notepad. All right. Now let's check this. So I have that now. Let's go ahead and what I'm going to do here is get rid of the other prints so that I don't have a lot of stuff printing out to the list down there. You can get rid of, I guess that doesn't matter. That can stay. I do want to get rid of this. Don't even need it anymore. Don't need that anymore. All right. All right, so I feel pretty good about this. And ultimately, let's see. So if I click this, what I should get is some of the exclusion ones. And I excluded some that are in the air, apparently. Okay, a lot that are in the air, which is actually pretty interesting. Because I could look at that and I could look to see if I can optimize that a little bit. All right, let's see. You know what? I think I realize what I'm doing here. Okay, so here's what's going on. I'm using 2 coordinate systems. One of my coordinate systems is in position and one of them is a grid. Now the problem here is that if I look over here, I'm keeping this position in the coordinate system for position. The grid is half of that. So I need to divide that by 2. Ultimately, I need to divide it by this. That way I don't have hard-coded 2 in there. So if I change my grid map size at any point, I can fix it. That's good. Okay, I think that should solve the problem. So now, when I do this, and I go to the movement, I should not see squares on my people. I was so confident. I was so confident. And so wrong. All right, let's see what we got here then. Oh man. Okay. So let's see. So grid cell 101. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, I don't know if that's going to be value added to go find that. So let me see. All right. I felt pretty good about it. But obviously I was wrong here. It could be, I'm trying to think here. So my grid cells are mostly on the 0 here. Essentially not floating, they're on the ground. So let me find 101 here. So it is running it, and it didn't exclude it. It did exclude 20 negative 9. Okay, that's probably on a corner. I'm kind of thinking potentially, so these are all included. So they do show up. That's an interesting one now. Okay, ultimately, now let's print player position list. Players position list. And then I want to print that. Let's do that. I care less about the grids, I think, at the moment, because I think I know what they are. I'll let it tell me which one it excludes, I guess. Interesting. I had really high hopes. Okay. So player position list. Okay, so this is it. These are all at 0.5. Am I still getting the floor? You know what? I am taking the floor too soon. I need to divide it by 2 first, then take the floor. And that should solve my problem, potentially. Let's check. I feel pretty good. I had no need for that confidence. Okay, so let's see what we got now. So let me run this again so I can get the position list again. Now I'm taking the floor here. All right, let's see. So, interesting enough, now I probably don't need this part because getting the floor is essentially filtering that out, which is great. What? Oh, I'm missing a parenthesis. Here we go. Let's give that a shot. All right, let's see what we have now. Oh, still not quite there. Okay. I think we're getting really close, though. Let's take a look one more time here. Let's look at the position list. Okay, so I have 0, 0, 0. That's great. 1, 0, 1, 2, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, and negative 1, 0, 0. All my position list is correct, which is great. Now what I need to do is let's go back to where I define my candidate cells. I think I'm going to break this piece out for now. And I'm going to essentially say, let's see. Let's keep that out. And I'm just going to print this value. So I'm going to print the grid cell. I know what my position list is. And I'm going to print this value. I'm going to print logic check. All right. That should let me do it. And then I'll see if it's in there. I guess that should return false, right? Let's see. So it's returning true, which means that the grid cell is not in, which should be true for a lot of these. There should be some that are false. Let's see if we can find them. 0 or 100 should be false. Can I do a search in here? Filter messages 1, 0, 0. Interesting. Okay. I need to include the logic check probably in this. So I can probably do all of this in one print statement. And essentially I do that with just a comma. I can just clear back to here and say comma logic check. And that. There you go. That should let me search them pretty easily, which would be really helpful. All right, let's see. All right, so then if I hit the move button here, that's great. That's really helpful. And then I can do 1, 0, 0. So yeah, it does return true, which is a problem because the grid cell of 1, 0, 0 should be in player position list. Let's go ahead and print player list and then players position list. I could do like a has players position list has. Let's see if I can decipher what's going on here. So then go back to this 1, 0, 0. Oh, okay, because it's going to return all of that. But what I can do is say grid cell 1, 0, 0. Okay, so it's returning true. What I'm checking is if grid cell is not in the list. Actually, I'm checking if grid cell is in the list and then taking the opposite is not. So 1, 0, 0 is in the list, so that should return true. And then I'm taking the not of that. Let me run that real quick without the not statement in there. And maybe I'm misunderstanding how that works. So that does return false, which is really interesting. Why? So it could be, you know what? I think I know what's going on. I think grid cell is a vector 3i, and I need to be checking for vector 3s, which is such a complicated problem. So if that is it, that's going to be a little bit disheartening. That's okay. So vector 3 at grid cell dot x comma grid cell dot y comma grid cell dot z. Let's see. Okay, so now this should return true instead of false. If it does, I mean, I don't blame myself for missing that one. That was a tough one. It returned true now. Okay. Yeah, that was a really tough one, but we got it solved. So I think now, ultimately, I probably can get rid of this. And at the end of here, just say and not this. And then I think I've got pretty good confidence. Drum roll here. See what happens. And look at that. We did it, which is great. A lot of work for it, but we got there. I think that's really important. Okay, and then I can put this back to what it was. I know, yeah, super excited. The anticipation, I'm sure, was killing everybody. Okay, so now what that means is I can't move to these locations, which is really good. It has a weird location here. Oh, interesting, because right now, okay, so this is an interesting problem. Maybe not a problem for today, but one thing to note is I can't walk through them either. And I may want to be able to walk through them. So I probably have to figure that out. For now, I can't walk through them, and that's okay. Here's another problem. Okay, this is a fun problem. I think this one's very solvable. I will move all my guys off of their starting squares, and the problem will become apparent. I am running my list check at the very top, right? Like when we define when we open up the scene. What that means is essentially it just saves their locations at the start and then ignores them from then on, which I don't want. So I just need to, instead of this now, I need to take this code that's here and ready. And I should be able to, honestly, now that I know what's going on, I should be able to just take this and move this right here. No, I don't want to do that because I'm breaking. So yeah, I do need to take this full code. And maybe even, let me think here. So let's see. I could just run it in process. That's probably the right place for it. is just at the start of process, go grab the player list. I don't think that's going to take very long. I think that's a very short operation. So I don't think it's too bad. I mean, it's what I probably could do is also just have a function for that. That'll keep it clean at least. Let's do that. So then I'll have like a get player locations, and then I can come down here and I can say like function get player locations. I don't need any inputs. I should return an array. And then do this. And then return. Here at the end of this for loop, I should return players position list. Not all code path returns. Okay, so then at the end of this, return players position list. And then up here, what I would do is I could just say players position, players position list equals get player locations. That should fix the problem. Let's check. We're gonna find out. Okay. Yes, so far so good. Oops. And then, oh, I broke it. So that's a bug where if I cancel out of a movement, I need to go resolve that bug. But if I cancel out of a movement, essentially, I break it. I need to confirm or cancel. Okay. So now, ooh, interesting. Okay, we'll check that out. So now it's because because I'm not clearing the list. So now it's cumulative, where it's constantly just adding wherever the player's been. So then what I can do is say players position list equals blank. So now it'll empty it first. Players. So now I'll empty it first and then populate it. We're getting close. I mean, a lot of bugs here, but we'll resolve them all. Okay, so now, yes, that looks great. And then look at that. So now it updates. I really think I should be able to run through my own guys. Otherwise, that's just too thing. But the problem is I haven't created groups yet for like enemies versus non-enemies, right? So there's no way to know at the moment, who's a good guy, who's a bad guy. So what I'll probably do is just wait. I'll leave this like this for now. And then as I define that, I'll go back. I don't know if I've showed you the journey. I don't know if I've showed you the cancel function, but there you go. There's the cancel function. I can go remove. So we're coming along here. So it's been fun. We've made a lot of progress here, I think. Ultimately, this is looking pretty good. I think the next thing, so my goal here was move character from point A to point B. I would say we have done that, which is great. So I feel pretty good about that. I think what that means is I'm going to go ahead and update my goal. So instead of move character from point A to point B, let's look real quick on the definition. The definition of done. So this was an unverified failure. I could never find that again. It happened once. I'm going to call it done unless it shows back up. Confirm selection. That's done. Yeah, I think mission accomplished. Testing. Let's move my character around a bunch. We'll test it. And then if, let's see. So we'll say we're going to test. So the goal now is test character movement. We'll say if we can test character movement, everything works good, we'll call it goal accomplished. So let's see. I'm just going to move people around a little bit. There is a bug that I'm aware of that we probably need to go ahead and fix. And that's if I cancel out this, see that confirm selection stays on the screen until I pick someone new. I don't want that. And then if I pick them again and then confirm, now it's just broken. So I think that's a pretty easy fix. I think if I hit the cancel button, just at the same time I get rid of the other screen, just get rid of that screen. So let me fix that real quick before we call it done. And so I think there's a cancel button. It's not in here. Maybe it's in the world. Yeah. UI cancel, active player equals, so it's just active player. And then in my character node, not character node, movement probably. No, it is in camera. Getting to have a lot of different pieces here, all working together. Down at the bottom of camera, I have here. And so essentially, if I lose my active player, it should drop, let's see. So right now that drops my focus off my move screen. It sets my mode to 1. I'm going to see where, so if I go to here, I think I'm doing that when I don't have an active player, it does this. I probably need to do something similar to here. And so essentially this right here, I think I need to, I do need to keep that. What I probably can do, let's see. I don't think I want to do this, do I? If I don't have an active player, do this. Yeah. Because anytime I don't have an active player, I want that off the screen. So that should fix it. Let's see. Move. Cancel. Yes. Oh, but it comes back highlighted. Oh, and my guy stayed there. Okay. Couple things I need to do here. Because obviously, like, the guy stayed there and now it's still waiting on confirmation, which I could cancel. So that's cool, I guess. But ultimately, I need to, if that happens, okay. I think this is pretty easy. Just essentially, if this happens, I would first, what I would do is I would say, if position's 202 negative 250, that means it's on the screen, or it's not. Okay, so it's not back at its home position. I'm gonna just set the button here, which is the cancel button, to pressed. I think that should work. Cancel button pressed equals 1. Then at least I will press the button, right? If I press the cancel button, I should teleport back. Ooh, it did not like that. Maybe it's not 1. Maybe it's, let me see. Invalid index set button pressed with value of type int. So let's see, I'm getting node. Interesting. So it did not like button pressed. Oh, that's because cancel is not a node. It's cancel button. Maybe cancel should be, because I've done that like 3 times now. This should probably be cancel button. And then that should work. It should cancel the button before it closes out. And we'll check here. It did not. I might add just a little weight there. What could be happening is it's going from 1 to 0 really fast. And so therefore it doesn't ever trigger the 0. I can pretty quickly just add a short timeout, even like 1/100th of a second. And it probably should catch it. I don't know what the hysteresis is on buttons, essentially the debouncing, but I imagine 1 frame is not in. I mean, that was faster than a frame that it closed out. Okay, 1/100th of a second still might be. So let's go, just to check this, I'm just gonna wait for 1 second before it closes out. So then it should be hitting the cancel button. Let's see. Okay. Interesting. And now it's really kind of freaking out. Interesting. Okay. I'm curious if it's just going to keep doing that. It probably will. I might not be returning to the right location if that's the case. Okay, let me check the movement on here. So this is 200 negative 250. I'm going to check the animation player to make sure that when I slide out, I'm going to that location. 200 negative 250, I am. Good. I'm wondering why it showed up on the screen so many times. It shouldn't have. And also it didn't press the button in the same way I expected it to. Unless, let me think here. Unless the active player gets unset first, and therefore I'm changing modes. Okay, I think I can do this. Essentially what I think I need to do is when I hit cancel here, I should go ahead and hit the cancel button. So instead of doing this here, just before I deactivate the player, which is here, right? The only problem, here's the problem. The problem is it's going to keep pressing this, I think, a lot. Let's see. Oh, sorry, that's in the wrong spot. Okay. So I think we're still good. It's not in here, it's in world, I believe. And in world, cancel. Yeah. So I'm gonna do that here. Basically, I'm going to press this button, which is going to be get node. I think I have UI control as a independently, uniquely accessible node, so I'll use that. I'll say UI control dot action confirm dot, oh, it's not dot slash action confirm slash confirmation window slash button selection slash cancel button dot button pressed equals 1. And then it should, after it clears it, it should press everything back to 0. Okay. That should work. So when I hit cancel, it should hit the cancel button for me. Okay. Maybe. Let me think here. So once I hit cancel, I might still need an await in here. Do I still have that? No. Let me think here. I do kind of think maybe it's just going a little too fast off the screen still. I know that didn't pan out last time. But I do kind of think that's the case. The reason I think it's the case is as soon as this happens, it's going to go button press 0. So let's just make it wait 1 second. I'm not going to leave it at 1 second. I think like 1/100th of a second is long enough to ping me to the next frame. Let's see. No, interesting. Okay. So I'm not actually hitting. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. Okay, so I should be hitting the cancel button. Button press should be 1. I wonder if it's disabled earlier than that. Let's see. Let's look at this real quick, and let's look at this button. So it should be this. I should be triggering button pressed, which is good. And then what I should do is when I hit that button pressed is it should trigger all of the actions as if I hit it, but it might not be able to hit it fast enough. So what I might have to do here is if confirmation window's on there, right? If I hit cancel, I'm going to go back, but I stay here. Let's, for testing purposes, here, let's get rid of this. Yeah. So let's get rid of this because I might be clearing the active player. This may not work. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, when I hit cancel here, it's not, but interesting. So now it's not doing it at all. I can hit cancel and it still teleports me back, which is great. But yeah, now my cancel button's not, well, because I'm not clearing the active player. So interesting. It should absolutely be, unless I'm misunderstanding something. So I should be actually be able to watch it. I don't use this feature like ever. But I should be able to hit this and I should be able to watch button pressed and nothing. Okay, maybe I have to be in. Yeah. Oh, well, it's obviously not disabled now. Okay, yeah, so I'm not turning button pressed on. You know, this is probably a Boolean. It's probably true false. I wonder if it's just not liking the 1. Some languages don't like 1s and 0s. I assumed this one was okay with 1 as a true, 0 as false. Let's check. Nope. I'm getting a lot of, let's see. So yeah, very, very interesting. I wonder if I have anything counteracting that to turn it back to 0. I have this, but that shouldn't ever turn it back to 0. So kind of interesting. I wonder if there's a better way to remotely trigger this button. So like if I go to node here, let's see if there's a better way. Let's see. So pressed, these are signals. So these are emitted when things happen, not controls. I do think pressed is the right way to go. Like I'm changing button pressed here. I'm gonna go ahead and change this to false. And as far as I know, it's working. But yeah, so the interesting that this isn't working. And it is on button press, not on button release. That's important because if this was on button released, essentially what it would mean is, you know, when the button went from 1 to 0, it would clear. But I need it from when it goes to 0 to 1 to clear. I'm probably going to real quick just report out what the value of that button is. And I can do that here. Essentially, I'll take this. Actually, you know what? Just for simplicity purposes, I'm just gonna make a new script. And in process, I'm just gonna say print cancel button. It's gonna print this a lot, but I'm just gonna say button pressed. That should return when I play this. It should return kind of what button pressed is at all times. I don't know, like the inspector over here, never used it, right? So I don't know what all kind of goes into that. Let's see. So it's probably disabled. Oh, I have this filter on, which probably helps. Okay. So now when I'm holding the cancel button, it should go to true, but it's not. Okay. So yeah, that doesn't work. And if I click it, let's see. It's probably turning to true for a quarter of a second, right? Or not even that. Okay. Interesting. So yeah, it's staying false even as I'm hitting this button. That should be forcing it to true. But it's possible that there is a setting on here. Let me look at the setting. So I'm wondering if there is like a so mode all, that should do it. Filter, input, theme. Let's see. I could use a shortcut for it. Well, let me add this to like the world and see what happens when I do that. No. Let's go back. Yeah, I should be able to control it the way I'm doing it, because I'm actually doing that in several locations, I think, and it's working fine. So I'm very surprised to see that this isn't triggering, unless I'm just not actually getting to here, but I know I am because I'm hitting my active player, right? So that's very, very surprising. Cancel button, button pressed is equal to true. Yes. What I'm going to do here, I think, is I'm going to try this just somewhere else. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and print real quick. I'll print the value of that. Print button pressed. And I'm going to print this value. And then what I'll do is I will clear all my other prints so I can actually see when things print. Do I have any prints on here besides that? Some exclusions. Yes, I should clear all of these. Don't need most of them now. So I don't need this one. I don't need that. What'd I do? Okay. Pass. Okay. This isn't bad. That gives me some timing information so I can tell if something's going very poorly. That should be all I have now. Oh, I still have this cancel button, huh? Which kind of gives me what I need anyway, but it's okay. We'll just do this. All right. Fingers crossed. We're rolling the dice here. So I should be able to see a little more information now. So when I hit cancel, I should be getting that. Okay, button pressed. False, even though I'm setting it to true. So that tells me that my signal I'm sending, right, to actually press the button is not working. So this solution could still work, but I have to be able to get this button pressed to true. And it could be that I don't fully understand how to get button pressed to true. Like, I think I'm using it other places, right? I mean, we looked at it earlier, here, and I think I'm using button pressed in the correct way, and this has worked how I thought it worked. But it's also very possible that I just have a misunderstanding of that, right? So, because I am disabling at the same time, it's possible that when I disable it, it sets it to true. So, ultimately what that means is if I can't, so I can check this actually by looking at the, coming over here and looking at the code here for this. So if I go to button pressed and I open the documentation for it, let's see what we got. Setting button pressed will result in toggle to be emitted. If you want to change this press state, set press no signal. So see this? Okay, so here's what we got. Button pressed is the return value that gives me the current value. I'm going to get that. I need to use set pressed in order to pass a value to it. So that is the key that I was missing. So the documentation on Godot is actually pretty good. I try to default to using it, but a lot of documentation I've seen on programming languages is not as good. So it's really hard to remember, but that makes sense. And so we would say set pressed. And that helps. So now everywhere I'm using this, set pressed, that should work now. And then do I have the back to the world here? I should be able to dot set pressed true. All right, let's see if that works a little bit better. All right. Okay, I'm still getting button pressed as false, which is really interesting. So set press true. Let me try one of these other functions here. That's strange. Yeah, moment of truth, done passed. We were unsuccessful. Really strange though. Means the button is pressed down or toggled. If toggle mode is active, it's not, so it's just as pressed down. Setting button pressed. Okay. That is a good point. Okay. So pressed is true until it's not true. I think that is a good point. And if I change this to toggle mode, I think that fixes the problem. Because now when I press true, it toggles. And so essentially what happens is it stays true. So now I am getting pressed true. So what I can do now then is now I think I can add that wait timer in there. I don't think I need a long one, but it needs to be long enough that I don't lose the character while I'm trying to break this. I probably got an error for character not existing. Not quite, but I have a lot of if-has nodes in there. So ultimately, I need a little bit of a wait here. I'm going to, again, wait for 1 second, but I'll pull it down where it's not waiting for a full second after this. But I'm giving it enough time to process. Yes. Perfect. Okay. Now I think I can pull it down as low as like 0.01. I mean, I don't think it needs much time at all just to process the input. So yes, very, very good. It just needs enough time to process. Look at that. That's great. So now ultimately if I come over here, because that's very intuitive, right? I think if you were walking and you saw this screen and you hit that, you would expect that functionality. You might expect you to go back and highlight the guy. That might be something to consider. I think how I would have to code that is it would have to save the active player and reestablish the active player afterwards. But ultimately, if you're doing that, I think that's okay. Because then, yeah, you could come back and you could hit the cancel button and then you follow the guy. I do need that to clear. So I do need the confirmation screen to clear because that kind of breaks everything. But I think I had that at one point and I cleared it to fix that. So ultimately, that's really good news. And so now I can go back to here and I can say, okay, so if I dump my active player, go away. Okay, also, I might just need my own if statement. So it's elif, it's else, sure, but it's also else to this. So I might just need my own if statement that says if I don't have an active player, or well, okay, actually, so yeah, I should have the else here. I kind of also need the else to report to this. What I could probably just do is a flag. So obviously this isn't doing anything. I guess I could keep it. I don't want to have to create this else twice because that would be kind of ridiculous. I guess I could make it just a function. So I can do that. I'll do that. Function. And I'm going to say return UI. And like that. And then I'll have this function in there. And this function is essentially going to be this. All right. And then what I'll do is I'll have another else statement here. And so I'll have an else here and I'll say return UI. And then else here, return UI. Oh, sorry. Return UI. Very good. What isn't it like about this? Oh, it's just because of the else statement. Okay, so now it's twice. Okay, now, based on that, I should be able to do this. Hit cancel. That looks good. It goes back to the menu. I can travel again. Or if I hit the cancel button, it just lets me go. So now I think we can do our final testing. Confirm. I could attack. Obviously, I don't have attacking programmed yet, but we're close. Okay. I can go jump up here. That looks pretty good. Confirm. Okay. Ultimately, this all looks pretty nice. Ooh. Interesting. So that's a bug. Turned before finishing travel. Interesting. Let me make a marker. That is a stream marker. That's an interesting one. I wonder what that was about. It got to the end. I'm going to see if I have any errors. Just that I returned. I wonder why I returned. Very interesting. Okay. So let's figure that bug out because, okay, it did it again. Is it specifically that square? Is it other people on that square? Is it other squares? Ooh, interesting. Okay. So it's actually a pretty common one. I mean, I can run. Oh, I can't. Now I just can't move. Okay. So let me see what's going on. Is it hitting the button? Nope. Okay. Interesting. I'm kind of thinking it is hitting the button. So it's when that comes through. Yeah. Yeah, it's hitting the button. I think what's going on here is I need this to when it in here. I am setting press to false. When it changes here, I think I'm not setting my button pressed back until it goes back out. So what I need to do here then is back here where I set it to true. Let me see where that was in world, right? So yeah, when I set this button to pressed, it's in toggle mode. So ultimately, I could kind of hold, no, I think toggle mode's the right way to go. Okay, press this. It's going to activate, right? And then what I need to do is, here, sorry. I'm gonna take both of these just so I can watch it happen. Okay, so it's gonna toggle, and then I need to set it back to false after it registers. And essentially what that's gonna do is it's gonna let me not run into that issue. Okay. Okay, that's good. Yeah, you can see it's back to false now. I think that was my problem. All right, let's see. Weird bugs. Bugs are by far, I think, the hardest thing to deal with here because there's so much code. And so you've got to try to think through, hey, what could cause this? It's like troubleshooting if you've got experience in automotive or anything else. You've got to go troubleshoot those things. So you have to think through what all could happen and cause the issue that you're seeing, which just takes time. And ultimately, when you write the code, it's obviously a lot easier to troubleshoot. And that is something that makes it hard if you're just blindly following tutorials or blindly following like a guide. Is troubleshooting's hard when you're dealing with other people's code. So, but it's one of those things where you get a lot better with it over time. And so there's that. I think ultimately over time you get a lot better. That's an interesting bug there. I don't know if you saw what happened. I'll share that and I'll write that one down. So I think I can safely say I've resolved this bug. But my new bug is when under bridge, have to wait until selection cycles to confirm movement, which is an interesting one. This one might be a little challenging to solve. I know what's happening. Essentially, you can see it always goes to the top and it kind of cycles back and forth. That lets you select either square, right? Like if I wanted to move to the top of the bridge, I can, right? And if I wanted to move to the bottom of the bridge, I can. But what it means is here, see, my selection window doesn't activate until I have the active player selected. I think that's actually pretty easily solvable. What I need to do essentially is set my target cell position or my selected cell back to my active player. Yeah, I think getting the thought process is the hardest part. Once you kind of learn all the thought process or kind of develop your own thought process, I think you can do this a lot better. You really just have to get that core fundamentals, and tutorials teach you how to do a very specific thing. It's just not scalable, right? Because you can't go find a tutorial for every little thing you want to do unless what you want to do is confined. And that can actually confine your creative process to a box, because now you've got to only do things other people have done. And that makes it really challenging to proceed and do better things because you're really reliant on other people's expertise. So yeah, and feel free to ask questions if I'm doing something you don't understand. Happy to walk through that, but I'm trying to talk through my process as well. Honestly, it helps me too. I'm a very vocal thinker. When I'm thinking, I am screaming in my head most of the time, so being able to speak it out loud actually just helps me not keep it in my head. Art tutorials, yeah, as well. I need to brush up, no pun intended, on art, like digital art, because I have assets I want to make. May reach out to community members here and commission some stuff ultimately. I've got to come up with a kind of art style here. I think I want it to be a little more stylized than realism. So, hey Tanja, hope I pronounced that correctly. I develop aerospace avionics. I'm not a software engineer. I'm an aerospace engineer, systems engineer at this point really in time. So, but I do a lot of automation in my job. So, Yeah, that's a lot of where I've learned to code. GDScript, I just started a couple weeks back, but you know, it's a lot of the programming languages are the same. The logic's the hard part. So I've been a engineer for about 10 years, a lot of experience there, and then 4 years of school on top of that. 8 if you count my master's, but I did it concurrently with work. And absolutely, I will journey. I think I checked out a little bit of your page. Hope you don't mind. The other day afterwards, and yeah, I think that's cool. So I probably will. I don't have any reason, I don't think, to kind of figure out stylization yet. I need to come up with like the concepts, right? And after I get all that down, start looking at something. But I think something more stylized would be good. So I'm in GDScript, or in Godot. So I'm just using the Godot compiler. And the way GDScript works is it actually, I'm trying to remember exactly the way this was explained to me. It doesn't compile, it doesn't like do the full compile and run. Like if you were running this in C#, the way Visual Studio works is it goes and it compiles everything and then runs it, right? GDScript doesn't. So one of the things I can do is like I can do that. I don't know if I have the setting on, but I can come back here and I can modify code and it changes live. Let me see if I can do that really quick. One thing I could do is just like their names. I've never tested this before, but my understanding is I can do it. So this one's name is Aria. So what I can do is I can come in here and I can change, I might not be able to change the node's name, but I can come in here and I can change player info here to add this, and I can make this text something like, I changed this. And I think this will work. Save it. And then if I come back here, oh, I might have broken it actually. Let's check. So now if I come back, so you see how it says I changed this? It's actually compiling at runtime. So it's not like a traditional compiler where it's compiling and then you go run the code. It's reading your code and compiling at runtime. That is kind of a cool thing with Godot. I never use that feature. And I don't use it just because I don't like testing things on the fly. I like making my changes and analyzing it and then testing it. So yeah. Good. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad I'm glad it's exciting for you. I'm excited too as I'm getting further into this. It's been a lot of fun to make progress. And I think sharing that with community and talking to people about it just gets me more excited. So, yeah, pretty interesting. So, and hey, Wesker, welcome to the stream. We're just kind of hanging out, finishing some testing. So kind of trying to work out some bugs on my movement right now. So the latest bug I'm kind of working right now is if I move under this bridge, one thing you'll see, I'm kind of working on, these might seem minor, but gameplay wise, they'll be really important. So I move under this bridge, right? And I sit here, you can see confirm doesn't pop up for a second. And the reason is because it's searching for my guy first, right? I have to have an active player to be able to confirm where I moved. So ultimately, I think I can fix that pretty easily by after I finish my movement, in my movement thing here, just jumping to my active player. So that's essentially down here. I am resetting my active player, I think. So let's see. This is in movement confirm, and I'm actually not, let me check here. I'm not going back to active player. So this is where I move the confirm mode. I think what I can do is I do set return triggered here, which should, in theory, put me back to my active player. Let me look at that function of return triggered here and see if it throws me back to my active player. I thought it did at one point, but oops. Let's see. Here, let's see. So it does. Okay, it's because I'm locking to map. I think what I can do here is I can say this and instead make target cell 0. I'll comment that out, equal to target position. And that will keep me from locking to the map, which should ultimately help me. Let's see what we got. Oh, okay, I'm missing an equal sign. That should ultimately lock me straight to my player at the end of the return, which would be better than hunting to the player. Let's see. We'll see what happens here. All right. Oh, interesting. There's another bug. Okay, so yes, that fixed that. But you probably saw I had another bug, which that bug, I don't know how I triggered it. Let me see if I can trigger it again. Confirm. This might be a little harder. It essentially triggered the confirm too early. I wonder if I jump back into move. And a lot of these bugs probably go away when I create like the move-based system. So right now this is very freeform, right? That's not how the game's gonna play. It's probably gonna be a move-based thing. That bug I saw might not have actually been a bug, but I'm sure as I'm testing, I'll run back into it if it was one. Okay. So this is looking pretty good, pretty fluid here. One thing I want to check is really large movement values. So right now this is all pretty reasonable, like 5, 7, which I think is high. I think ultimately that's going to be pretty high, and you're probably not going to get there to that high of movement to like end game, because that when you can move too far, it really puts you at a huge advantage. But I might try some really huge values just to did it again. So let me note that bug here. I'm not sure what's going on there, but so I resolved this bug, and my new bug is when cycling quickly through movement after confirming, returning back to character and bringing up movement return or movement confirmation screen. So this is not C#. This is GD script. I can use C#, right? So C# is one of the two scripts that are available. Like if I create a new script, I can select between GD script and C#. This is just GD script. It's Godot's kind of proprietary language. It's not too far off, I think, from like C#, Java, right? You're calling methods. It looks really the same. Your logic is probably the same between the two languages. The thing it does really well is like object-oriented coding and how I can call on nodes. It reduces some of the code I need, which is helpful. And I'm not trying to market myself as a software engineer, but if you were trying to learn something like a programming language to become an engineer or to kind of do something with computer science, probably good to go ahead and start here in C# because you could learn that from this tool. But ultimately, I want to make a game and make it as fast as possible and have fun doing it. So GD script is the right choice for me. And the cool thing about Godot actually is if there's anything that I find that GD script doesn't work for me for, I can use C#. You can actually mix and match in Godot, so I can have a program that runs in both C# and GD script, which is pretty good. Okay, ultimately here, I think what's happening is okay, so it did it again. I think I'm going too fast. I'm not allowing my my mode to change fast enough. So if I go back here to movement and see when I change this to move confirm, I set it here, which honestly should be fast enough, right? Because I'm grabbing the focus, disabling. What I probably can do though, just to make sure that before I throw the screen away, I'm going into move confirm mode of false and not going into move confirm mode of true, is doing this. I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that's my problem. The reason I don't think that's my problem is because clearly the screen is gone by the time I pull up move, right? So I think I'm actually setting move confirm mode to true, which is interesting. Did I set it to true anywhere else? That's the only time I set it to true. So that's really interesting. Either that, or if I go back to action confirm, it's possible that I'm not returning UI here for one of these reasons. Let's see. So if I get to here, if it has a node, it's going to go into here. Otherwise, it's going to return to UI. Used to work C# ++ in Java. interested in game development, yeah, that's kind of where I was too. Is I've done other programming. GDScript was surprisingly easy just to jump into when you have that background. If you don't have that background, it can definitely be intimidating, can definitely be scary. But I think if you've got like a C++ or Java background, I think it's going to function very similar to this. So hopefully this looks pretty similar. I think you'll be good to go. At least get it started and then, work your way up. I think, so I have in the title, I think this is day 17. So I really haven't been in GDScript very long, but it was pretty intuitive. I feel like if you know other languages, you should be able to jump in pretty well with, obviously some learning curve, but hopefully that learning curve is pretty short. Okay, so the next thing here is if I have an active player, if I'm in move confirm mode, I have and hide U and I'm not hide UI. So it's basically this, which is fine. Otherwise, return this. And then I'm wondering if I do have, so yeah, basically if move confirm mode is not on, I will return the UI. And I'm wondering if, just thinking through this, if for some reason I popped back out, right? So if I pop back into move, would it trigger move confirm mode back on? I don't think so. Like the only time it would trigger move confirm mode back on is if I'm moving, because it's a serial thing here. So while movement nodes, it's actually not serial, but it's on move path. I could be triggering move path twice. I'm going to print here. I'm just going to print like review. I may be triggering move path twice, which could be the case just from leftover kind of buffered inputs. Could be some other things. So let me go ahead and clear some of these prints out because I don't need a lot of them anymore. I guess I'll keep done just so I know. Oh man, it really undid. Let's see. So button pressed, sure. Let's go ahead and clear those. It's in camera. No, it's in world. I can get rid of returned here. Actually, let me keep that because it might be reading a return input into the buffer as well, and that would tell me if it was. Okay, I can get rid of these prints though. So let's check. And then let's run this. And we'll see we'll try to see when it's happening. I would say, yeah, I think Python is one of the ones I'm more familiar with. Ultimately, a lot of programming languages are very similar, but yeah, Python, it's going to have a lot of similar structure, a lot of similar things. Syntax is different, obviously. Just there are differences. It's hard to quantify those, I think, because I'm not an expert in either. But if you know Python, I think you'd be able to jump into GDScript pretty easily. Python is it's very versatile. Another thing that you'd be able to, I think, jump right into if you know Python. So if you are interested in like programming outside of games, Python is a very, very good language to learn. Very marketable. You could probably go get any job at a company, or a job at almost any company if you knew Python really well. Python's used in everything from avionics testing to automation, checking of data, like if you have big data reviews, that kind of thing. You can use Python for a lot, so it's good. And I did jump into this twice. So essentially what happened is it moved, and then before it resolved, it moved, and then before it resolved, I went back into move, and it still was in the move function. So I think that's solvable. Yeah, and understand. I think programming is such a good skill because so many jobs you end up with monotonous tasks no matter what you're doing, and program can help you around those. I jumped right into a 3D game. If you've got a programming background, honestly, 2D or 3D, I don't think is any more challenging either way. You're dealing with one more direction. So like my vectors are vector 3s instead of vector 2s. If I was doing this game in 2D though, a lot of the code would look exactly the same. If you're doing complex like navigation algorithms, this is a little bit complex. This A-star algorithm, I needed to develop a custom one. First off, Godot has A-star algorithms already built in. I needed a custom one because I wanted to interact with my movement speed and jump speed in my different classes, and it needed to be pretty dynamic, and I wanted to optimize it because it was running really slow. So now I have it running really fast, even for really high movement speeds. And I'll put this on the really extreme end. It's not going to be instant, but I'll kind of show you how fast it is. So you could be as complicated or as simple as you want. If you want to make a 3D game, I'd say make a 3D game. If you want to make a 2D game, make a 2D game. So you could see the lag there, right? That's because it's calculating paths to all these nodes. And if I truly pick one, there will probably be a tiny bit of lag. Not a lot. So, I mean, it did a pretty good job. When I first started, that right there would have taken like 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah. And ultimately, like, I did follow the like 2D tutorial first, like make your first 2D game. And then it says, hey, make your first 3D game. And I didn't finish the 3D tutorial because it was pretty much a rehash of the 2D one in another direction. So ultimately, I think however many dimensions you add, artwork, I imagine, is harder. I don't know a lot about art. I imagine it's harder to make 3D art than 2D art. But as far as like characters and things, you can go into a site called Mixamo, if you've never heard of Mixamo. And it's pretty good for like getting 3D character assets. So that's like where my character assets come from here, is this Mixamo site. And they basically just have free, it's actually built by Adobe, which is surprising. And so I just went and took this kind of base character and started using that as my animations. And it was really pretty straightforward together. So here's what that site looks like. And you can have like different assets. So you can see like this character, right? Or this character. You can have all sorts of different characters with different animations. So I just grabbed a basic one because I don't know what my character looks like and I want to have very specific characters, right? I want iconic characters in my game. So for now I have the generic Xbot. And yeah, the cool thing is I do like these animations, and I think ultimately it's really nice to be able to come in here and just pick these animations, and you can just pull them down and then you can go load them into your game. So I have like a running animation I'm using. Ultimately, like there's a lot going on that you could go pull. You could have an entire game with all these animations, and there's so much in here, right? Like I could have like a jumping down like this instead of what I'm using. Yeah, ultimately, I don't think 3D is that much easier or harder than 2D. So if you want to make a 3D game and you think you'll stick more to it and learn more with it, go for it. I absolutely believe in doing what's fun, doing what you're passionate about, and learning along the way, rather than grinding and trying to force yourself through to learn something that you're not interested in because it'll make you better in the long run, just because I think the mental capacity to do that is hard. Yeah, Mixamo is completely free. You have to sign in. I signed in with Google. And you can, if you went into Mixamo.com in the next like 3 minutes, you could have models. It was free, really easy to pull together. So yeah, check it out for sure. And you can see like my character here, right? Well, that's the skeleton. That's the skeleton. So that's all the, okay. I just refactored how I did all the characters, but anyway, I'll just zoom in here. So you can see there's my characters. And I did take the little joints out. So you can see the difference here is there's all these joints. The reason I took the joints out is because other skins don't have those joints. And I wanted to have something that's pretty easy to swap. So actually, I can show you this because this is kind of cool. One of the things I've done is try to make this very modular. And so I can delete that. I'll see if I can do this live. I can delete that. I can go pull this skin right? I can go back to my main. I can go to this one who has no skin, paste it in there. I can remap the skeleton to, let's see, who is this? Arya? Is that right? Yeah. I can remap the skeleton to the skeleton 3D, right? And applying a new skin is that easy. Yeah, absolutely, Journey. I fully believe in like on-the-job training, right? That is the best way to learn. And so now you can see, now I have a new character in there. And that modularity, that's one thing I'm really trying to focus on in this game. That way, you know, if I want to expand and I can have thousands of skins, doesn't matter, right? Because ultimately you can have a character select that applies all of that. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Oh, interesting. So that was a weird bug, but I think that's because the feet are probably, I don't know why that bug happened only when I changed thing. Obviously I still have some bugs to work through. Let me fix that one first. But yeah, so really was focused on modularity here, but yeah, just jump in. I think that's the best way. I agree with you. Yeah, and fundamentals programming are just as important, I'm sure, as everything else, but if you're not interested in learning the fundamentals, the problem is you're not going to do it, right? You're just going to give up, or at least myself. I can only speak for myself, my personality. If I'm not enjoying it, I'm going to kind of get into it for a minute and say, yeah, this isn't really that interesting, especially as a hobby. I'm going to skip it. If it's something you enjoy and you're having fun doing it, yeah, you can just do it along the way. And then when you run into that problem and you say, hey, I need an optimized algorithm, this is running too slow, then you can start looking into those fundamentals a little more. And sure, those fundamentals would have helped you solve the problem a lot faster, but you still will solve the problem. It might take you a little longer, but you're still going to learn it, and you might learn it better because it's going to sink in because now you're doing it applying to something you're passionate about. So that's my take on it. I think you can get there though, just by doing something you're enjoying. So this, I think what is going on is I'm probably changing my modes too fast for movement mode. So I am not leaving my movement mode fast enough. It's like moving, I think, is where that is. Let's see. So I'm setting moving to false here. I am changing my move confirm mode to false. It's really interesting. I could lock out selecting a character for some time, but I think that's a kind of a hacky way to do it. Let me see what's driving move selection. Actually, okay, I think I might have an idea. And I think if I turn all of these on toggle, actually, do I already have these on toggle? I do. Okay. And then here in this box, I am setting them all to false. So I'm turning them off. Let me think here. So when I first start, I am going into move immediately, which means I think that my move button is pressed. So maybe I need to unpress my move button after let me see, is this after cancel that I'm seeing it? Or is it after confirm? It's after confirm. So I think I might need to go ahead and quickly unset my move button as soon as I confirm. Let's see. Because this, yeah, if I keep an that's the problem. Okay, if I keep an active player, right? If I keep an active player, it's going to... if I keep an active player, it's going to not switch. So it'll never push this back and never set this back to false. I need to set this button back to false after I confirm. So ultimately how I do that, let's go back to movement. I think I'm setting buttons here. So I think here I would set this back. Let's see. So this is my confirm button pressed. This is this. Let's see, and I can do on return trigger, which is in my camera. That's where I think I'm setting my other one actually. No, I did get rid of hitting the button, didn't I? Let's see. Where did I set pressed? Let's see where I'm setting the other one. I can't remember which function it's in. It's not in here. Is it in movement? Nope. Is it in character? No. Is it in world? Well, yeah, yes. So set pressed. So I'm setting my, okay. I think here when I hit cancel, I'm gonna go ahead and hit set my movement. I want it to be a little cleaner than this. When I hit cancel, I'm gonna change active player to blank, which would already set my thing to cancel. But that's not the problem. It's not when I hit cancel, it's when I'm confirming. So let's just set it here. After you confirm, once you confirm, set the, not the cancel button. This is gonna be the move button. And I do disable the move button, but I don't set it to false first, which I need to do. That could be the problem too. I might be disabling the move button, which means that I can no longer put it to false. Oh, which is interesting. Let's do this though. I think this solves the problem, at least short term. And there may be some more efficient way I can do this. And I've probably got about 10 more minutes or so before I'm gonna head out. So we'll see if we can get this fixed real quick. I want to resolve and have movement called done today. That's my goal. Oh, that was interesting. Okay. So it's still doing that. All right. Still doing that. Let's see. Okay. Well, now move confirm is just stuck. Okay. Let's see. All right. Interesting. So that way, if I hit, okay, so now it's really just when I go somewhere, hit confirm and I go back to move, it goes straight to confirm selection. So that tells me my movement confirm is still active when I'm in move mode, or it thinks it is, or it's behaving the same way at the very least. So let me look at where I'm calling out my move states, which is not here, probably in world. So when I call out my move state, it's going to be setting. Okay, that just highlights the cells. Get move cells. The active player. Okay. Move state. Okay, let's see. So this should pretty quickly set move state to false. If I have move state on and not moving, okay, I think it might be this. Let's see, I think I'm going in here. So if move state's left on and I'm not currently moving, move the character, and this would trigger me. Let me print here to see if when I replicate this problem, I'm almost positive it'll return it. I feel pretty good about that. So let's see. So I can confirm, cancel, and go back. And I got the here, cancel and go back. Here, cancel, go back. Got the here. Okay. So then what I think I can do is make this a little more restrictive. Okay, so move state, I need move state to go to false, but move state is entirely driven by this button, the on move toggled button. So let's see. So when it toggles, it should go and this. Mainly because I want the animation to play. This is gonna be a tactical game. It's good in tactical games to kind of see where your character is going to be, right? And when you get there, like think about if you were playing chess, right? You might put a character down or a piece down. And as soon as you put that piece down, you say, that's a stupid place to go. Gives you a chance to reset, right? Every movement matters. It's a turn-based RPG. So this way, if I do this and I turn the corner, I say, oh, there's a guy right there who's about to about to kill me and I can't reach him, you can just cancel and go back. So it's just the animation that plays. Ultimately, if you watch, like when I hit cancel, I can still select in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, I can still select what I do next. So I can just go back to move. Whereas if I confirm, I lose the option to move, right? So then I would be progressing in my turn. So it is still before you officially move. It's like if you don't let your hand off the piece in chess, kind of the same concept. So yeah, I need move state to go to false here quicker. But move state is entirely based on the cell. So what I can do real quick is I can, let's add a script here. Okay, and I'm just gonna print the value of print move button. This is gonna be constant. And I'm gonna say button pressed. So I basically want to see what the state of that button is to see if I'm confirming. What I probably need is just like a 1/100th of a second delay. It's probably not processing that I'm pressing the button is my guess. Okay, let's see. So confirm selection, confirm. Oh, you know what? That's not running. Let's see what that's about. So that's because it's only on ready. It needs to be in process. So then my debug window is going to fill up with move button. Okay, so false, true. And let's see. Confirm. No, it does go to false. Okay, but then it goes to true. Okay, I'm resetting it to true. Okay, that's really telling. So I am resetting it back to true here. But after I set it back to true, let's go back up here. Okay, so after I set it back to true, and I'm not moving, it instantly moves the character, which is a problem. Okay. Interesting. So I need something else to move the problem. Maybe it's in movement. I have something in my movement nodes. So when am I resetting? When am I setting moving? I guess moving here. So moving is true when I try to move my character. Is this inside of an if statement? No. So this is in the base. Yeah, that's not a good way to do it. So it's essentially anytime I hit OK, if I'm in move state, it's going to try to move the character. So ultimately here, I just need another and, I think. I need to say if movement nodes. Let's see what my movement nodes are. Up here. Identify movement cells, okay. Movement nodes. Movement nodes dot length. Maybe dot size. Dot size is greater than 1. Greater than or equal to 1. I'm okay with a value. Actually, I think it has to be greater than 1 because I think I clear the first value when I pass it through. I can confirm that really quick. When I come in here, yeah, the very first thing it does is cut off the first value because myself is not a value. So anytime it's greater than 1, I think is the right way to go there. Okay, let's see if that resolves this bug. Oh, interesting. Because movement nodes, I haven't gotten any movement nodes yet. Interesting. So I'm hitting the button and getting nowhere. So let's look at what I changed. I think that makes sense actually. So I'm hitting the button, but this is not within move character. What I probably can do is just down here in move character. Anytime I try to move character, so I do have a block that says if move possible. Move possible. I'm probably not clearing that though. If I change clear move possible to false. Okay. So that is exactly what's happening. My move cell num is false. What I probably need to do here is after I set this, I need to set move cell num back to false, or back to, I guess, 0. Not move cell num, move possible equals false. That would probably fix it. Now I see what's going on. It is passing in there every time, but there's a block. What I probably need to do is just move this move possible to this. Right here. Right here. And move possible. Just so when I'm inevitably troubleshooting this again, I don't have to think about it as much. And then I could still keep this. And then I could still turn move possible back to false. But I want move possible to turn back to false no matter what. So I'm just going to set it at the top here. Let's see if that fixes this issue. See what we got. Okay, I do move, confirm. Look at that. I can go as fast as I want. Oops. Okay. I think that resolved the problem, and that looks like it actually resolved quite a few problems. I think there were probably a few bugs manifesting from that. Okay, and I can cancel. Go back to move. I can hit cancel. Teleport my guy back. Gonna do a little bit more testing, but this is looking pretty good. I think I'm about ready to call goal achieved. So that's fantastic. Let's see. All right. Finally, I know. It's these bugs like this. I think when you start getting a lot of code, and I'm not to a lot of code yet, especially for an RPG, it gets really hard. That's one thing that's really hard for me personally. I'm not good at it, and that's code organization. I ultimately need to probably take a day, go organize my code, and I think I'll be a lot better off. Yes. Very excited. This is fantastic. I'm pretty close to, I think, calling goal achieved and calling it a night. I'm going to do a couple little tests over here on the bridge. The bridge is here because ultimately this was the hardest part, was being able to have a a kind of overhang like this and be able to travel to it and kind of do it dynamically. Actually, I might have lost. Okay, I still have that ability. Be able to navigate to both squares was kind of complicated, but ultimately I think we're there. Let's do a couple more little checks. Some of the bugs I've had in the past. So I used to have a bug where if I ran out of corner, it would just try to jump through the bridge and fail. That's resolved. I can run to the edge. I'll jump off both of these. But yeah, I think that what that means, I think for next stream, is I think I can start coding in other like actual RPG elements. If I can control all my movement, what I probably will control next is attack. And so I'll be able to set up a health system. I'll be able to set up an attack system, work those animations in. I already have kind of the baseline for what I'm going to do there. And yeah, I feel pretty good about it. I do need to set up a system with groups. So that will impact where I can attack, where I can move. And then essentially I need to say, hey, if I've got a group and you can, or I guess if they're non-hostile, you can walk through them. But yeah, I think we're at a pretty cool moment in development where we get to start developing mechanics. This is looking pretty good. It feels pretty good. Honestly, it's very smooth. I can kind of navigate a couple different ways. I have joystick like this, right, which is pretty smooth. And then it goes seamlessly into D-pad. So that's great. Yeah, I feel pretty good about this. So let me update the goal here. And I'll say goal achieved. Goal achieved. So yeah, really good. Feel pretty good about that. We can throw some Find some good emotes here to throw on the screen. But yeah, I think I'm going to call it a night here. Thanks everybody for helping or hanging out though. And it's been a lot of fun. Ultimately, good stream. We got a lot done here. And yeah, hope to see you all again soon. Oh wow, look at that bug. As soon as I call it a night, end up with a very strange. We'll consider that one just a fluke. I'm not sure what happened there. It probably had to do with my mouse movement. I will note it, but I'm not going to think about it too much. My note is going to say when left for 30 seconds through off screen. I have a lot of keyboard mouse work to do still, so I'm assuming it was related to that. Okay. But yeah, we're gonna call it a night. Yeah, thanks a ton, Journey. Catch you soon. Thanks, Wesker, for stopping in. Hope to see you again. Had a lot of fun, and yeah, we'll get ready to call it here. So thanks everybody, and talk to you soon.